How are you doing, Donnie?
Doing pretty good, man. How's it been going?
Good, good. Episode 5
Yeah, we are. This
of
is
season 2.
season 2, 5,
Yeah,
moving right along, and looks like we're gonna be talking about some drones this week, I think.
yeah, some drones and yeah, we'll get into all that. But looking forward to that. How are you doing, Joel?
I'm doing fantastic, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
You're at PGI, Joel. How was your PGI week?
It was a lot of work, but it was fun nonetheless. Yeah.
So when did you get in? Was it Saturday night or
I got in late Friday, not
Friday.
on site, but I was on
Okay.
site Saturday. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Did you have any time at all to enjoy PGI and walk around, or are you just kind of stuck on Saturday?
Saturday. Yeah.
No, I did my rounds on Monday, but unfortunately, the rest of the week was pretty wrapped up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know we were kind of still working on some final details on Saturday for my show. I mean, how late were you guys working on the closing show, like finalizing all those details?
Oh yeah, no, it was pretty late. So
Yeah.
I don't think I didn't receive the file from my team until the morning of the show.
Wow.
So they were
Okay.
working on it late the night before. Yeah.
So you
we
hadn't
actually had
seen
a couple of
anything?
No, we had seen parts of it, but I intentionally did not watch the full thing.
Oh, okay.
So the parts I was concerned with, I was the pilot in command for the show. So the parts I was concerned with was making sure that the drones and the fireworks are deconflicted. Not so much worrying about, what fireworks were going when I was out of the show space.
Yeah.
It's more just they would shoot one of my drones down.
Yeah.
So those were the parts I saw.
Yeah. Well, it just so happens, what was it? Sunday night we shot one down? That was pretty intriguing. So have you guys like dissected the video and figured out exactly where that happened?
Yeah, actually it was the very last sequence for the Green Man where he turns, and then there was the torch effect that had looked like it was, yeah, exactly. And then the bottommost drone in that effect turned and was hit.
It was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, I remember coming over and looking at the drone. I was like, wow, that got annihilated.
Yeah.
So, but has it gone in a frame yet?
It was a customer of ours. It was his drone. So I believe he is planning on framing it in some fashion.
Nice. That's funny. It's not funny, but it's funny.
It's pretty funny. It's hilarious, actually.
The irony, because we worked so much, we're like, well, I think you even moved them back.
Yeah, so that was the element I was most concerned with. So I guess I'm not completely surprised, just based on how low that position was and how close it was to your stuff in the back there.
Yeah.
But that last finale barrage is what did it.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
Every pyro's goal, shoot down a drone.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually always a joke we have when we do these integrated shows with people is hey, every drone you shoot down, I'll buy you a beer. And that does not happen. So I guess in this case, David, I do owe you a beer.
It's funny because I did come over and I was like, hey, how much do I owe you for this drone? I feel like I owe you guys something. And they're like, no, we owe you a beer. Said, okay.
Yeah. Well, and probably what actually happened is probably some part of debris that hit the drone just right to cause it to detect vibration and come down.
Yeah.
It's hard to say exactly what happened there, but it's clear that vibration was present right there at that last finale.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So can you go into each individual drone and see those analytics? Like, what happened?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We can actually see like a full 3D flight of where the drone was at all the way down to the ground.
Oh wow. Okay. That's pretty crazy.
It's cool.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. So is there? I guess let's talk about the drones a little bit. Like, obviously your guys' the designing software and everything, that's all proprietary to you guys. You guys make the drones in the States too and everything. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so our company is unique in the drone light show space because we are the one-stop shop. We make everything, software, firmware, drone, all of it. So when you're buying into our system, you literally have the full ecosystem with us. And so the drone we flew with your show on Sunday is made in the United States. We do have a Gen 2 that's made in Malaysia. So the finale show was a mix of both drones, actually.
Okay. So did those come? Were all those drones here in the States, or did you guys have to ship any drones from anywhere else?
Yeah, all the drones at PGI live in the United States. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I know. I think you guys were talking about some of them maybe were you're trying to get some in from Dubai to
Well,
add
that
more
was
pyro or something?
yeah, it was for the firing system side of things.
Oh,
We're
okay.
trying to get exactly to add up the pyro on the drones, but that didn't work out.
Yeah, interesting. So perfect.
All right.
So how long have you been with Verge?
Let's see. So I left Cobra Firing Systems in February of 2022.
Okay.
And that's when I switched over to Verge Aero.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, I think now is kind of a good time. Let's hit this intro, Donnie, and then we'll get into some Cobra and figure out what you were doing there.
All right. Yeah.
Hit this intro, and we'll continue on.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Pyro Unleashed. Tune in weekly as Donnie and David discuss all things pyro, from the business aspect of the industry to technical tips and mesmerizing pyro designs. On Pyro Unleashed, we invite cutting-edge experts to the podcast to discuss their role in making this industry a success. So, sit back and unleash your inner pyro with us.
All right, here we are. It's official. Episode 5. Official.
Episode 5.
That's awesome.
All right. So we were just talking about let's get into your time at Cobra and how you kind of got involved in that, and then kind of wrap yourself into Verge.
Oh, that's actually a funny story. If you're not familiar,
I'm not actually. No,
I know.
My story in fireworks actually starts, obviously like a lot of people, kid enjoying it. As I got older, got into high school, this lovely platform called YouTube came about. So early on in those days, I started posting some not so appropriate stuff on YouTube regarding fireworks. Quickly realized, hey, people are watching this content. And so pivoted a little bit, tried to do a little more kosher tactics. And that's actually how Scott Smith found me, was through YouTube.
Oh, really?
And he actually invited me out to my first PGI in 2013 to help out at the Cobra booth. And it was after that trip that he's like, hey, we could use more help. You want a job? Took the job, moved to New York, and worked at Cobra for the next 8 years.
Wow, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so then how did you get wrapped up into to Verge after that?
Another good story. No, actually, a previous coworker of mine at Cobra left in 2020 and did some bouncing around the industry, eventually landed in the drone space. And so then fast forward 2 years later, he said, hey, man, you might really enjoy what we're doing over here. And it'd be really good to have another pyro in the organization to kind of help with this integrated stuff. Because, keep in mind, 2022 drone light shows were a dime a dozen. It was a very brand new industry in the United States, coming off of COVID and just really expanding that space. No one had seen drone light shows, right? So to me, that was an exciting new thing. It was like, okay, this could be a lot of fun. Let's see where this goes. And so made that switch.
Okay. That is very intriguing. Yeah, that makes sense. So, and then what all... go ahead.
No, I was just going to... He touched base on his YouTube channel.
Go ahead,
I know nowadays you do keep up on your YouTube channel, see some content you put out there, some demos and stuff like that. You want to talk a little bit about your YouTube channel, how people can find you, and kind of some of the stuff the content you put on there?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, thanks for bringing that up. So my YouTube channel is just my name, Joel Robinson Pyrotechnics. Like I said, started a long time ago as a passion project. It still is. Like, that's just my fun side hobby, if you will. Mostly focused on consumer grade fireworks, primarily demos or pairing items together to do fun things, right?
Yeah.
And so I was doing 3 videos a week for the last couple of years, and then middle of this year it's been really hard to stay on top of that. So now I've kind of gone back to just posting when I have availability, because with all this travel and drone light shows and fireworks all across the world, it's busy, man.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah. So what all is your involvement in Verge? Like, what all do you do? I mean, I know you're a pilot, but what else do you do there?
That's the funny thing is piloting is like third down the list of responsibilities. So my primary job is I'm the director of customer success. So whenever we sell a system, I'm your point guy. I train you on how to use the system. I'm your point of contact if you have any technical issues thereafter. So that's the primary function. And then there's a couple of miscellaneous items in there, and then piloting is down the list. And the main reason for that is because my company, we're not positioned to be a light show provider. We are the technology provider, right? So our goal is to sell systems to, for example, you guys, you now go do shows, and we're just your, technology provider. However, if you go back a couple of years, like I said, the industry was so new, there wasn't people doing that. So we had to do shows to get that exposure, to find new customers and so on. And then when you look at things like PGI or some of the other gigs we've been involved with, it's more because it's not a paid opportunity, or it's a marketing opportunity, or just a fun, passion project, which PGI is kind of all of that.
Right? Yeah, that makes sense. I guess it's probably more of I'm guessing it's kind of a training place as well.
PGI?
I think I heard you guys were doing a lot of training out there, and you can try new things, which is, I know when I was talking to the designer, I was like, look, we have ideas, but I want to see your guys' creativity in this. Like, I want to give you guys full reign, because my passion is fireworks, your passion is drones. So if we can both be passionate about what we're doing, I think the integration is going to work much better together. And I mean, maybe I'm just biased, but I think what we did on Sunday night, it turned out well. I mean, there was some hiccups or whatever, with timing. I think we chatted a little bit about that, and which. Yeah, kind of. Do we want to talk about that a little bit? I mean, like I said, I knew something was off, and it was funny because I was sitting there on the phone and I hung up, and then I was about to call you back and say, "Hey, can this get bumped?" And then I leaned over to Zach, who I was sitting next to, and I was like, "Oh, I think it got straightened out." And then it got into like the Space Invaders, and you could see it was a little off. And do you want to talk about that and how that could maybe have happened?
Well, the funny thing about this is, I was off-centered from the show, and the audio was far enough away from me that I didn't pick up that it was off until a video was posted the day after. And that's when I noticed the play-pause button specifically. Like, everything was timed right on the beat. And the ironic part about it is, you're correct, it felt like it was actually on later on.
Yeah, and, it's like it sped up and then slowed back down. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Especially during the audio waves.
The waveform? Yeah,
the waveform.
Well, that also makes sense, because if you think about how it was on beat, if it was essentially like a full frame off, it would still appear that it was on beat. That makes sense? So that might have been all that was. But the way our system works is, especially when we're integrated with multiple other systems, is timecode, right?
Yeah.
And so as long as the timecode feed is synchronized, everything starts in our system and it autoplays, similar to a lot of firing systems. However, some firing systems allow you to adjust the timing as timecode is playing. You can't do that with the drones, because once the drones launch, they're doing their flight path. You can't necessarily speed up or slow them down, because they have a set. Yeah, they have a set, speed limit. They can't just bypass that to speed up to get into the next position.
Okay, that's intriguing.
So my best guess is, in that first 15 seconds of pre-roll, the timing was just enough off that the drones launched. We can't do anything about it. And then when the fire started firing is when you started noticing a slight discrepancy. But I don't.
Yeah, and I wonder, even on my side, if I would have sped up my time code, it wouldn't have sped up the audio. So it
actually, it could. Yeah, it could.
Okay. Yeah, it would. Yeah.
Okay, it would have. Okay, so that's intriguing to know now. But yeah. Again,
well, and if I'd have realized it, exactly. If I realized, I could have rated it over to you and suggested that as well. But I didn't notice it, because from my perspective, it looked great. It still was great regardless.
Yeah,
good problem to have, I suppose.
Yeah, most definitely. So. And how many drone shows do you guys do a year? As a company, and then I guess as you.
Yeah, it's less and less as each year goes by. But I mean, we still do a reasonable amount. And a lot of it too is, if we sell a system, we can still come out and pilot that system for another customer. So we offer professional services in that manner. So we have a newer customer that just purchased, and I have a show coming up in 2 weeks with them. It's their drones, but they're hiring us to come in to make sure the show is successful. So that's a lot of what we're doing now, or like those promotional gigs I was telling you about. But for me, it's probably only, like me personally, it's probably only once a month, maybe.
Okay.
Just depends. September's got at least 2 right now.
Okay. Gotcha.
So kind of taking a step back and looking at PGI last year, when we all got kind of roped in and kind of blown away by this whole drone pyro kind of collab last year.
Yeah.
kind of tell us a little bit kind of how that came together last year to create that amazing kind of spectacle that we saw last year.
Dude, that's so funny. That's a really good story too, because last year was such a new, we weren't sure what exactly was going to happen. And so how this came about is we had sent an email invite to all of our customers that own drones. Said, hey, we want to go to the Pyrotechnic Guild International Convention. We want everyone to bring drones if you can. Whatever number of drones we get, that's what we're going to fly. And a lot of the design all happened in that last week. And so it wasn't until that night before that show that we actually saw like really the first render of it, knowing like, holy cow, tomorrow is going to be epic. It wasn't until literally the night before we realized that, because some of the details were so last minute, where we wanted to do a little better song and dance in the sky, and we just didn't have time. We were at that time, so we were a year ago, we were trying to get Pyro approved through the FAA for PGI specifically. That did not come through either. So we were hoping some of those pieces would come to play last minute. They didn't, but still the idea of having the drones interact with the Pyro on the ground, obviously that worked. And it was such a unexpected event for the audience. And I think that's why it was so well. And of course, then we all know that emotion is a big driving factor of how successful a show is. And so that show had this kind of eerie feeling to it prior to lasers coming down and blowing something on the ground. And then when that happened, it went from like this eerie kind of weird feeling to holy cow, like a shock feeling. So, I mean, it just absolutely nailed it. I love that show. People still talk about it all the time today. And it's exactly what we went there to do, is do something truly integrated, fireworks and drones.
Yeah, and in a show like that, is the theme of like that show dictated by the drones, or do you guys kind of work in collab with the scripting team to kind of come up with a theme? Like, who comes up with a theme like that?
That was mostly Dan Haynes that came up with that theme that year. And if I'm miscrediting someone, I do apologize, but he was the primary creative on that. So including like soundtrack and whatnot. So that was a little song and dance. Like they gave some ideas, we gave some ideas, but there was an initial like kickoff call of like, hey, this is what we're thinking. Anything you want to change or add to that? And it kind of went from there. And so, David, we did the same thing with our team in your show. It was very much a little bit of a, hey, we've got this thing, we got this idea. What do you guys think? You want to try to play together? So that's the way a lot of it's been now. And a lot of that's because we're doing these passion projects, right? I mean, where you guys are obviously busy running your businesses and living your lives. So are we. And so coming together to do something at PGI just happened relatively last minute, right? And so unfortunately, I would love to have more time allocated to truly sitting down and working with everybody to make an extremely cohesive show. And there's so much opportunity to improve on that for sure. I mean, we've barely scratched the surface of what we can do.
Which is intriguing. So I know when we designed ours, we put the fireworks in front of the drones. In PGI 2023, was it the same way, or was it flipped the other way?
It
same
was
with
the same
closing
way,
show in 24.
So in 23 Robot Head, they were only using up to like inch diameter cakes, maybe. It was relatively small effects. So we just sat right behind that, which was perfect though, because we only had flight authorization to 400 feet. So Robot Head was approximately 400 feet. And if you're using small diameter stuff on the ground, him shooting down was the perfect altitude for the fireworks. And because the fireworks were low caliber, the Robot Head was closer. And that was really impactful because it felt like this Robot Head was over top of you.
Right on top of you.
It was right on you.
Yeah. That was the only thing I really didn't like about our show. It is what it is. We had to push back, for Green Man. He was over 600 feet away when he started. Matter of fact, he was probably closer to 725, like his center point before he turned. Where if he had been at 400 feet, 300 feet closer, it just would have been a little bit more impactful. And even like the Space Invaders, we had applied for altitude higher than 400 feet. We originally applied for 1,000 feet. That's an FAA thing. And, if they don't approve it, they don't approve it. We could have submitted it earlier, of course. That was on us. But my point is if we would have gotten that approval, we could have moved everything up, and that would have also been impactful because then it would have just deconflicted those fireworks a little bit.
I think it would have been a little bit more dynamic and would have looked a little bit more lined up. Which kind of leads me to my next question. So obviously in 23, I felt like the drones were interacting with fireworks, right? So the drones created the fireworks to happen. Where I kind of wanted to try and we wanted to do something a little bit the other way, right? We wanted the fireworks to interact with the drones. I mean, do you see both of those kind of going hand in hand, or do you feel like one plays better with the other?
Hand in hand, man.
Yeah.
I mean, if things were different, we would have had pyro in your show too. We would have had pyro on the drones in your show, as well as in 2023. And then if you think about the Space Invaders scene, for example, having them shoot back at the ground.
Yeah, I know we had talked about that. It would have been, it would have been pretty
cool.
epic to be able to do that. Yeah.
Exactly. And there was a conversation with the robot head where the idea was hopefully we could shoot something back at the robot head, like repel it, if you will.
Oh, okay.
And then have like a gerb or a waterfall, like, oh, I got hit. Just something silly like that, because it would have been the first time you'd have been like, oh, wow. It would have given just a little bit extra. It didn't need it because of how epic that moment was, but still, it would have been cool.
Yeah,
and then the Friday show, that was the plan, and that's what some of those elements worked with. So the Saturn rocket, that was all standalone technically, but then there was supposed to be a chase scene, and I was going to talk a little bit about this, but there's supposed to be a chase scene where the ground and the drones are basically shooting back and forth. And we just had a lot of product not go in that segment, so it didn't quite look the way it was intended. Still cool, but it didn't go like on the drones, I mean, not on the ground.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And actually, I was sitting right there next to you, Donnie. I didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
That had happened.
Yeah. A lot of times if I'm not involved in the show, you don't have any idea.
I don't know. And that's funny because that you bring that up. It's like, I sitting back watching my show, like I noticed so much that went wrong. Right.
Well, you notice, every little detail, when exactly when everything's supposed to be going.
Yeah. And I guess that's kind of what's different about the drones is, yes, you probably notice it, but it's, I mean, is it that create that much of a difference with the drones? Because really they're using GPS, right? So they're able to essentially get within like a 3 foot by 3 foot area, and to be able to keep that kind of tight precision.
It's actually like centimeter precision in the sky.
Is it really?
It's incredible. If it gets a couple meters off, like you mentioned, it would actually land itself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it's got a safety bubble around it.
Yeah.
But no, I honestly think fireworks is more noticeable. Well, okay, hold on. The person designing the show on the fireworks side is more likely to notice when a single, effect does not go as planned. Yes. On the drones, that's hard because essentially it's normally one effect. Yeah. So like you would maybe have a transition be slightly off. No one would ever notice that unless you're a designer, though. But less opportunity, I guess, in drones for that to be the case. But I feel like either one, the audience has no freaking clue.
Yeah,
they have no idea. Yeah. It's only us.
Yeah.
So as we look back from like last year into this year, how many drones did you fly last year at PGI versus this year at PGI? What was that?
Good question.
Yeah.
So we had 850 for Robot Head last year. We also did 200 technically last year on the Girls show. It was just very basic, like some text in the sky. Yeah. And then this year we did 500 for Sunday night, and we had 1,800 for Friday night.
Okay.
Yeah. Big difference.
Yeah. So, and I do believe you guys were flying them in flights, though, correct? For Sunday night. So you had 2 flights of 900, or how did that work?
No, it was actually 5 launch pads. So
was it really?
Yeah. So they went up at various times, and so I'll just briefly explain it. So 900 in the first flight, then there was like just under 400, just over 300 in the next 2, and then 2 smaller launch pads specifically for the pyro drones.
Okay.
Yeah. So those actually, like the Saturn rocket. Yeah. There was 45 drones in that section. They went up, joined the Saturn rocket, did their waterfall, went right back and landed.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They're just used for that one scene.
That's crazy. Okay. I mean, it's intriguing, but that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a time that. Sorry.
What's up? No. I was going to see if there was any drones that were up there the whole time.
Technically, the entire fleet was off the ground at the same point in time.
Okay.
But they were not all in the same element at the same time.
Okay.
So like a fleet was going off and a fleet was landing. So they're all in the sky.
Okay.
But no, technically they weren't all in the element at the same time. And a lot of that actually comes down to that deconfliction of fireworks. I mean, there was a lot of fireworks in that field that we were just trying to avoid. Yeah. And so, being scrunched between effects with 1,800 drones is just really hard.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that makes complete sense. So did you guys lose any drones on Friday night then, or?
Yeah. I mean, it's especially when you get up to these high numbers, it's not uncommon for a drone to come down.
Yeah.
That's how the system's designed. So if it detects a problem in flight, it just fail-safes and lands itself. Obviously, when that comes to pyro on the drones, you have to be ready to disable the firing on that unit, which is the biggest thing you got to be watching out for when you're doing that type of show. We had a couple come down. Nothing that was nothing got hit. It just was like either a sensor error or something like that, and it just detected a landing. So when we do shows with fireworks, like you can see it on the ground. It doesn't affect in the flight, but you can see on the ground where if a large salute goes off or a fireball, you can see like the fleet detect a sensor error and then quickly correct itself. Like you see like a whoop, you.
Now, do all those drones fly back home, or do you guys have drones that just crash land because they just lose everything and they just crash to the ground? I mean, or do all of them?
It can happen.
Do most of them relatively just return home though?
Yeah, the fail rate is very, very low, like less than 1%. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So awesome. If you were to see a mass fleet problem, there's something else going on, like GPS issues or something like that. Yeah. That's if you've seen some articles about other shows that have happened, it's normally something regarding GPS that causes a mass like outage and the drones start landing, which again is how systems are designed, right? So the idea is that similar to fireworks, we have a restricted zone. No one is supposed to be in that restricted zone. Therefore, if a drone comes down, it stays within that restricted zone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, same concept with fireworks.
So it's interesting you bring that up. So I know, you're talking the launch pad is, maybe to the side of your display field. Maybe you have it kind of closer to the crowd. Do you guys have it where you can create a fence where those drones, obviously cannot come past? Essentially, like you're saying, like a fail safe. They hit that fence and they just drop. That way, there's no chance that they can actually go into the crowd.
Yeah. So our system actually has a built-in geofence system, is what it's called. There's 2 layers. There's a soft geofence, hard geofence. Just really quick, soft geofence is around the drone. So if the drone strays by 2 meters, for example, it'll hit the soft geofence. It'll land itself.
Okay.
So like 99.9% of the time, that's exactly what happens. I shouldn't even say it's more like a fraction. Yeah. The statistic of a drone hitting the hard geofence is it's not happened in the tens of thousands of drone flights, right? Yeah. So hits the soft geofence, it lands itself. If that some reason fails, there's another geofence around the entire flight, which is what we call the hard geofence. That would also cause it to land. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Perfect.
And then actually just to touch base on the restricted zone itself, it's calculated based on where the drone is in altitude, assuming it's going at max velocity with a tailwind, how far can it travel? And that's the restricted zone plus some amount of buffer room. And so we can actually see that in the flight planning software. So like for PGI, it was all lined up where, you couldn't come up the road that was like the access road right in front of the PGI seating. Like I could see the road on the map to determine exactly where my safety zone needed to be. And so like our restricted zone in your show was like way that out closer to the 200-foot line, just because of how far away we were flying.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. So did you guys get the FAA clearance for Friday night? So you guys were up at 1,000 feet, right?
No.
Oh, okay, you were not.
Yeah, 400 feet was the max we flew.
Really?
Which is and that's another problem with 1,800 drones.
Like you're saying, I mean, I don't know how much closer you guys were for that, but it looked so much larger than ours, and I'm guessing obviously that's just because
a lot of it's just the distance away.
Back.
But I mean, you make a really good point though. So now imagine being closer and higher. It just adds that other level to it.
Yeah. I mean, if you would have had the rocket with the drones off the bottom, the rocket engine, if that would have been higher in the sky and a little bit closer, that effect would really hit differently.
Yeah. Right. Because then also the comets and everything would have been below the rocket line versus coming up over and overlapping, which, even with the Space Invader thing, same exact thing, right? Just bumped it up another 100 feet would have been perfect.
Yeah.
So we talked a little about this when we first got started about testing different devices on the drones. Obviously, we've seen mostly waterfalls. You guys did some comet drops, it looked like. Kind of talk a little bit about how kind of some of that stuff kind of came together and how you go about testing some of those effects.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So first off, you absolutely have to test every effect you're planning to put on the drone, right? It's just, it makes sense. You wouldn't want to do a performance without knowing exactly what's going to happen when something fires, right? That's pretty common, I would say, in industry. So with the drones in the United States, right now, you can only put consumer grade stuff on drones. So that's a big hurdle. because there's only so many products out there that fit into that category. So anything that's close prox is normally your best bet, which is why you're seeing a lot of waterfall effects.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are a couple like tracer type comments and stuff like that can be used, or what's called like a drop comment, essentially a comment with no lift. And that's exactly what you saw on Friday.
Okay. And what's like the largest diameter of effect you can put on?
Well, so that's a really good question as well. And that's where the testing comes into play.
Yeah.
So we successfully.
Effect?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So we successfully did a 38 millimeter mine overseas. However, the same manufacturer, same caliber mine, different effect, caused different results. So one successfully fired, the other one caused drones to land. So one was too powerful and was not. And the assumption there is just how much lift was in that shot.
Yeah.
It was like a gold glitter versus white strobe. The white strobe was too powerful. Gold glitter was solid.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so, we've done other testing, and it's very situational. I don't think I would try 30 millimeters. If you're getting close prox, of course, normally it's a little bit less powerful than like your guys' product. So you might have a better result with that. So even 20 millimeter, I would still want to test it. You always want to test it.
Interesting.
Now on the drones, how much weight can those drones carry? Because obviously you're putting firing modules on those, plus you're putting your drones on there. What's kind of your weight limit on how much you could fit on one of those?
So that's one of the fun things about our drone is it was designed with the intention of carrying a payload. What that payload was is, at the time was a little bit up in the air, but it has a 500 gram payload capacity. For perspective, the Cobra 6M is like 330 grams. So over half of it. The Fire One 4Q module is like 280, so a little bit less. That's what we used. So that gave us just over 200 grams for the 4 effects we did on drone, because the Fire One unit is a 4Q unit. Okay. So we're actually working internally with streamlining that entire process. So hopefully this year we'll have a better solution that allows for more product because of less weight and so on, that's fully integrated.
And if I don't know if you can talk about it, but will it just be fired from your system, or will it be able to work with other firing systems?
Well, that's the interesting part. So let me explain quickly how those other systems work today and why it's better for it to be integrated. So first off, the number one thing, 2 different systems, 2 points of failure, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you did not channel Q firing system properly. The drone's not in the right spot, for example, it inadvertently fires. Like, that's a big concern.
Yeah.
With our system, when a drone's on the ground, it has to be in a very specific slot. That slot is the flight path that's flying in the sky. So for us, normally, you can put whatever drone, whatever slot, it does not matter. They'll fly that flight path. As soon as you put pyro on the drone, you need to make sure that pyro module is channeled and addressed correctly, queued correctly in the right slot. And you can't just swap it to a different slot. Otherwise, you'll have inadvertent, it'd be firing in a different position, basically. Yeah. So that's one big concern. The second big concern is when the drone is in the sky, if there's a problem, drone comes down, how do you disable that pyro? Yes. You have to manually do it right now by knowing which module's on which drone. So there's obviously some holes there. And so by having an integrated solution, the module can actually self-disable as soon as the drone detects there's a problem. So it eliminates that entire manual human error aspect to it, which is a huge safety thing. I mean, if the drone loses power, it's not going to fire. If the drone has a fail-safe and comes down, it automatically disables, right?
Yeah.
Additionally, with the whole queuing and slot detection, it'll know if it's in the wrong slot based on what's plugged into it.
Okay.
So in theory, let's say you have all Q1 comets connected. You put a drone in slot number 1, it knows I need to fly this flight path. So if there's a chase, it would know I need to be firing slot number 1's firing queue as well as being in the flight path. But if you took it and put it into slot 10, it would then go, okay, hold on. I'm actually going to be flying slot 10 and fire this queue for slot 10. So if you accidentally swap those up, there's actually no way you could accidentally swap those up. It'd only be if you miscued it, but it'd also know if the queue is incorrect for what it's supposed to be firing. So there's a lot of benefits like that where essentially it just allows you to drop the drones down as long as, like, for example, it's all the same effect on Q1. You could just drop it in whatever position you want to. It's only if you're doing very specific sequencing that it would start to become more challenging.
Yeah. And then as you guys are using them now, are they using the onboard battery, or are they using like a proprietary battery for the firing system?
Yeah, it is the onboard battery.
Okay.
There's a capacitance. Yeah. And it will be NFPA compliant. So it's got all that covered. I don't know if there's much else I can talk about it. It's still early enough in development that I also don't want to mention too many details because that could change. But the goal is still this year to get that prototype up and running.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's really good to hear. So, and then what are we talking about for a system on the drones? Like, starting package, I mean, I don't even know if you guys have packages of drones, or how do you, what are your packages to sell to sell your drones?
Well, so technically, you probably wouldn't want to buy a system unless you're going to at least 100.
Yeah.
You can do it way less. I mean, we've done our logo with 20 drones and it looked really solid. However, it looks way better with 50 as it does with 100. As soon as it's 150, you can also put text below it. You get what I'm saying. So obviously more drones can be the better for what you're flying in the sky. We have sold some smaller packages, but generally it's because of some countries' legality behind drone swarms. So they're buying a small fleet to get that approval. In the United States, I wouldn't say anything less than 100 is probably what you want to look at. And then, of course, for us, that you'd be paying for software. We have our flight software, design software, all within our ecosystem. Cases, chargers, technical support, on-site training. It's all part of the package that you would purchase.
Okay.
Yeah, it's full turnkey, really.
Very good. Very good. And what's the website or email address that somebody can reach either you or a salesperson for that?
Yeah, our website is Verge, Verge.aero, AERO.
Perfect. All right. Very good. Very good.
And then Joel, where do you see kind of the future of drones going? I mean, is this just going to keep growing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger, or are there kind of a ceiling somewhere maybe along the point, or we just don't know yet?
That's a great question. So who knows, right? But in the same time, so pyro on drones in the United States just became legal for 2 companies in May of 2024. So we're only a couple months into that being legal. We barely did anything at PGI for pyro on drones. I think there's a ton of potential with that as effects start to be made that can be put on drones, like specific items manufactured for drone use. That's going to increase the effects we can do. I mean, you can do the drones in a show without the lights on. Like, you don't even have to be using lights, but you can add the drones to add another technical level to what you're doing in the pyro side of things, which I think is something that a lot of people that dislike drones aren't even thinking about. They're just thinking about drones taking over fireworks, which is obviously not going to happen. But they're not thinking like, holy crap, like we could use this tool instead of creating a tower that's 100. I mean, okay, that's actually a really good example. So these towers, right? You know how long it takes those guys? I mean, there's a couple groups that do it. Those towers are 100 feet tall. That's a lot of manual work, right? Okay, now picture this. Every 25 feet, you got a position on that tower. Just replace it with a line of drones. They don't even have to be illuminated. If you don't have to do that, but they could shoot shots off of it. And next thing you know, those drones could form a shape in the sky that you then hit a effect off of. So then instead of a stagnant tower, you essentially have a moving tower in the sky that you can use however you want. So when I think about things like that, I'm like, man, we haven't even seen some of the creativity that's going to come about. And I think also when you look at all those other peripherals, flames, lasers, all that stuff, DMX became more readily available a couple of years ago with regards to fireworks. We started to see the integration of those systems. We see a lot of flames used today, but you rarely see all of that in the same show. And I feel like there's just a lot of potential there. Yeah. I mean, I can't wait for the next 2 or 3 years, man.
So you started bringing up some interesting things. So I guess I'm going to start with question 1.
Dude.
So lasers
I'm
on
always
drones.
thinking about this stuff. Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
we actually did
I was going to say, is that a possibility? Has that been tried? I mean, what's the integration looking like on that?
It's definitely possible. There's a couple issues with that. Flying lasers, FAA does not like, so that's one big hurdle. The problem, of course, lasers, you're not supposed to point them at people. Now, obviously, you have a drone above you. Like, if you think about a laser show, a lot of times they're going right over your head. It's intentional to avoid you. Of course, then airplanes in the sky, that's a whole other challenge. So we have done a modified thing where it wasn't a laser, but it was a spotlight, and actually it was on a moving head gimbal. So the idea was the drones with spotlights were literally flying around with the spotlight, targeting other drones or other things that were in the show. And so that worked pretty well. It just wasn't as powerful as we'd hoped for. It wasn't as impactful as we hoped for, but the idea worked. I mean, it absolutely worked. It was just phenomenal. It was a little passion project we did 2 years ago. 2 years ago now. And it was really, really cool to see. But the idea is the proof of concept that drone is the same drone that's carrying pyro. So it could be modified to carry some type of moving headlight or some type of maybe a flame machine. Again, that's probably an FAA hurdle we got to take care of. But think about it. Think about a moving flame machine. Right.
Interesting.
So on these drones, like, what is the flight time though on one of these drones when you talk about using for like all this type of stuff? Obviously more weight, it's going to use more battery. like where are you on, like on flight time for a basic up to load it up?
So there's there's more than one battery that can power our drones. So that question is a little bit tricky. I'll just answer as basically as I can. Let's just say the less good battery. If you have it maxed out 500 gram payload, I would not cross 10 minutes of flight time, maybe even 9 minutes of flight time.
Okay.
If it does not have a payload, you can go maybe 13 minutes max. There's a better battery. That one, you could go even 16, 18 minutes without pyro. With pyro, maybe 12 to 14. I always try to err on the side of caution with pyro, because obviously you'd prefer it to come back and stand there a little bit longer. So if you think about the show we did on Friday, that's why we had the 2 pyro launch pads separate. Because the idea is they just went up, did their pyro cues, came back, especially when one of them only had a waterfall effect. So that whole flight time is 2 minutes. It's just better to get it out, get it up there, do the shot, come back, land. And the other drones were up there for maybe 6 minutes. And they had a max payload. They had 4 hits on each drone.
Well,
and is there any thought process in the future about being able to extend that flight time on those, or are we kind of we're being kind of out like on that technology side?
Well, reducing weight is a good way to improve flight time. So when it's funny because you think about fireworks too, people don't generally care for a 30-minute show.
Yep.
It's just the truth. Like my sweet spot with fireworks is 15. 15s, I love it. It's really the same with drones, man. If you get up to a 30-minute show, it's, people are going to be like, okay, when's this ending?
Yeah.
So I'm not overly concerned with if we can keep getting 15 minutes with pyro, 12 minutes with pyro, 15-minute total flight without pyro, I think that's fine. Yeah. And there's also a tactic you can use, which we did on Friday at PGI, is we just had drones take off at different times. So the show was actually almost 20 minutes. It's about 18 minutes of total drone flight plus the finale at the end. Yeah. And that was achieved by 2 different launch pads. Yeah. So that way, you just keep taking drones off if you want to extend the show. But
yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I seen Donnie over there writing down notes. What are your plans on the last Saturday in September? No, of next year. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I will be at the event, but I will not be doing anything with drones.
I need a drone tower.
So on that note, guys, I've heard that there is going to be some fun things at that event regarding drones. That's actually I wouldn't say a competitor of ours. It's just another company that does drone light shows not using our system. But I'm hearing they're actually the other company that can do pyro on drones. So I'm expecting to see something there. Hopefully it's freaking cool.
I've heard some rumors, but hoping for the best. I mean, if they can start breaking some technology things and do some different things, that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
So
when you start getting into some of these larger shows, like PGI, for example, I mean, what does it take as far as manpower to set up a show of 1,800 drones? Because I know you guys were looking for some help to kind of help set up and take down, like what's that manpower need for something like that?
Well, that's so funny because obviously, like 2 to 5 guys could do it, but who wants to do all that work? The problem actually comes in very key areas like powering the drones on. Yeah. So generally we do shows, we power on as late as we can. So that way we're preserving as much battery life to ensure that that's going to be, used during the flight. Right. So for example, let's say an hour before your scheduled showtime, that's when we start powering on. So ideally you want to power on as quickly as possible, which is where you really want the people. And then for hired shows, we normally have 2 people per, or I guess 1 person per 50 drones. So if you want to do that math real quick, it's like 40 people for 2,000 drones. We probably had in the 20s, but we had a good crew because there's a lot of our customers that do drone light shows. So this is like an experienced crew of 20, maybe 25. And then we had people, did have volunteers, and they came, they helped for both the Sunday show and the Friday show. They were very, very helpful. That's one thing I love about PGI, man. Like people are willing to help out if they're available. So people were helping for all aspects of it. Love that. But no, we could have used like 10 more probably. Just to make it easier.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. So how long does it take to set up a drone show? I mean, obviously dependent on the flight size, but what time did you guys get out in the field on I guess Sunday and Friday? I guess that would kind of get 2 different examples.
Right. There's the battery charging, which is generally the longest part of setting up a show, just because it takes long. It's obviously dependent on how many drones, how many chargers, how many batteries, like if you're doing multiple flights. So obviously that's that factor. But we normally do that like just sitting in a building with 2 or 3 people just charging batteries. And that's normally starts early in the morning for a standard show. And then as the afternoon comes about, let's say around dinner time, that's when we might go and start setting up. So let's say 5. And then by 7 o'clock, everything's set up and you're just waiting to power on. If the show's at 10, we power on around 9-ish. Show goes at 10. You're normally packed out and out of there by 11:30.
Wow. Okay.
Nice. That's not too bad.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Yeah. PGI was different, but that's because of the scale, having all the customer fleets come together. We did firmware updates the morning of the show, actually. We also preloaded the show. Yeah. So like the way our system works is you can load the show to the drones. It keeps it. So it knows where it needs to be at all times. Powered off doesn't matter. It still knows the show. Like so much so that I could go back to PGI tomorrow with that same drones. It already has the show on it. I could set them down on the where we launch from and fly again. So we did all that in advance. So that way, when it came time for showtime, you just power everything on and you're not stressed about trying to get everything ready to go. It's already done.
Okay. So I guess that brings up the next question. So you have 1,800 drones. Do you have to make sure each one of those 1,800 drones go back in the same spot, or does it, would it load each individual drone again according to its GPS location on the ground?
Yeah, exactly. So every drone has every flight path on the drone, which is why when you're not using Pyro, it's really convenient because I can just take two drones and swap their positions, and they'll now know, hey, I'm going to fly that flight path.
Wow.
So it's actually really awesome in that regard. And that's the problem with the Pyro side of things is where you can't just do that with a firing system. You have to rechannel it. Yeah. Or requeue it sometimes.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Crazy how that works. Yeah. But kind of talk a little bit about, we're talking about how drones obviously not replacing fireworks.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of cities are starting to make that transition where they're replacing fireworks shows with drone shows. Do you kind of foresee that to kind of continue to be the trend, or are we kind of, it's just going to become maybe a fad that people are going to get tired of and want to go back to fireworks? Like, where do you see that trend going?
It's so funny because I've noticed a lot of articles. Late June, you'll see a bunch of these articles appear where so-and-so town switched to drones or so-and-so whatever. And the funny thing is, in our experience, that's simply not the case. It's not like there's an over-exaggeration of town switching. What we've seen in some cases, like if you go back to 2021, for example, and even into 2022, there was a shortage of 1.3 product. So there was a couple shows that we did around July 4th that were because the local display company didn't have product. Or burn bans. It's a big one out west. I mean, Colorado, for example, and California, both we've done shows simply because they can't do pyro. So while of course that town went from fireworks to drones, it's not because they necessarily wanted to, right? It's maybe just because of a situational thing, or in a lot of cases, or in most cases that I'm aware of, you're doing both. And so there's still the drone company, or there's still the firework company, and then they bring in a drone company, which in my opinion is the best way to go about it, right? Yeah. People, everyone knows that drones, it's really hard to do a finale. I mean, that's something we've always struggled with. So like in our system, when the drones are landing, and David, we talked about this on our show, right? When the drones are landing, you see the drones coming down. So you're like, okay, the show's still going on. Well, no, it's just a safety thing for us to see the drones landing where the show ended in the sky, right? And of course, that's where bringing the fireworks to create a true finale works out so freaking well.
Yeah, because as your drones are landing, they got the firework finale that's going off, and people are staring there staring at the drones watching them land.
Yeah,
exactly, dude.
Yeah.
So I guess to go back to your original question, no, fireworks or drones are not replacing fireworks. I think what we're going to see more and more of is these integrated shows, which is fantastic. I mean, from our perspective, we sell the systems. A lot of our customers are firework people, which is why PGI is so fun for us, because we invite our customers, they're firework guys. They love it just like we do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very intriguing. Yeah, because I know even a couple of the shows that I shoot, they were dropping their budgets to do drone shows. And I get it, they were trying out, and then, again, it was really funny because the next year it was, we're going to do the drones the night before now, and then we're going to bring back the drone, full set of drones, and stuff like that. It makes complete sense because then you're giving both aspects to the event goers. Well, and obviously once you do one, you can't go back and not do it. So,
well, that's actually funny because I like the strategy of doing it so people create that demand, but that's not your. But no, you brought up a really good point. So now all of a sudden, if this fire company was doing a show on Friday and they now brought in drones for Thursday, they might have lost some of the budget for that, which is exactly why a lot of our customers are fire people, because now they're just like, that's fine, we'll just take the full budget. We'll just do both.
Do both aspects of the entertainment display. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, most definitely. Perfect. Well, do you have any more questions, Donnie? I know we need to got some pyro news.
Let's head into some pyro news here. Let's talk about some pyro news.
Right.
Let's
get
kick
some
us
pyro
off.
news going. All right.
Oh, that graphic's the greatest thing ever. So, here's some short on some news a little bit, maybe this week, but there was a fire in North Park area of San Diego. A fire sent fireworks into the sky.
Yeah.
Again, California, talking about California and fireworks being illegal, but yet here we are. San Diego fire rescue crews responded to a fire in North Park home early Tuesday morning that sent what appeared to be fireworks into the air above the residence. There was a lot of fire and a lot of smoke when we first pulled up, which is usually typical in a good fire. And then there was some kind of explosion, said the battalion chief. Later confirmed that crews suspected the blasts were likely fireworks. So, and people in California, man, they will sneak their fireworks in.
Yeah, they'll put them anywhere.
I did say likely fireworks.
Likely. I mean, it's you don't know. I mean, at that point, yeah. So, it's like it just said number of people were reportedly inside the home when the fire broke out, although they appeared to have left the premises before the crews arrived. No injuries reported, so that was good. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, that's really
so I think there was cameras that were seen people leaving the structure. So it was but again. Storing fireworks in your house catches fire, becomes a party.
Yeah.
And then some other light pyro news. There's some events coming up here. The International Fireworks Championship in Traverse City, Michigan. September 4th.
By the time this airs, Pyro Jam will have happened.
Pyro Jam will have already happened. You'll be at Pyro Jam already back.
I will be.
So we'll get a report from you next time. So, and obviously the end of September, Sky Wars. October we got Lone Star. I think we're gonna try to get Chris Stacy on for Lone Star. I think as we get closer. And then obviously beginning of November you got Sooner Skyfire. So some good events coming up this fall. Fall is my favorite time of the year for fireworks, man. All these great events. So
everybody's really excited for the 4th of July, and for me that's just work.
That's just work.
The fun part of fireworks for me.
So is there any of these events you're going to be at, Joel? You going to any of the fall events?
Course. Yeah, of course. I still, do events personally too. So I'll be hitting up the NFA personally, and I'll be at Skyworks.
I'll be there.
Sky Wars personally, and then I'm not sure about the APA. I may be there for work.
That's gonna be interesting this year.
All right. Well, hey, I want to thank Joel for coming on this evening and talking about drones, and this is awesome.
Yeah, thank you again, thanks. Joel. Yeah, and it's what was the website once again, so our listeners can find
our company website is Verge.Aero.
Verge.Aero. Perfect.
Yeah, I just want to say to both of you guys, you had phenomenal shows at PGI.
I appreciate it.
It's funny, man. I understand the work that goes into it. Both of them. Well, technically, David, you're involved with at least 2.
Technically with the drones, we had 3 shows. 4,
exactly.
I guess you can say 4.
The amount of work there, and of course, Donnie and KCAP loved the national anthem and whatnot.
Thank you.
So good job, guys.
Yeah, I appreciate your again. Yeah, thank you so much for working with us and getting that drone show off. And I think it all worked out. And I can see a lot more stuff happening with the integration and some ideas. So pretty excited about that.
Yeah, thank you, and I hope so.
Yeah.
And again, go out there, Joel Robinson Fireworks on YouTube. Check out his YouTube. Give him some views out there. Definitely. See some of his product demos. I always catch when I see them pop up. So it's always some good content. And so
appreciate it.
Again, we have our website, pyrounleashedpodcast.com. We also have our merch store, which you can link to there from the website. Go out and get you guys some Pyro Unleashed merch. Again, then on Discord, always some conversations happening on Discord. And so I think it's kind of slowed down. We'll probably be back on a little bit more and chatting things up.
Trying to get on there. Yeah, it's been pretty busy. And
been
on the road. And we're prepping shows.
Absolutely. So again, guys, hit the website merch. Want to thank Joel for coming on, and we'll have another guest lined up shortly after Joel as well. So until we see you guys all next time, go out there and unleash your inner pyro.
This has been another episode of Pyro Unleashed. Come back each week for more industry insights, technical tips, and awesome pyro designs. Have fun out there, be safe, and as always, remember to unleash your inner pyro with us.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Just stick there just a couple seconds. It's got
Okay.